Hey folks, this is Rob from Learn by the Drop at learnbythedrop.com. Learn by the Drop is a place to learn Drupal, and this lesson is the second lesson in the continuation of the Getting Started with Drupal series. In the previous lesson, I showed you how to get Drupal set up on a local host using WAMP server on a Windows machine. And in this lesson, I'm just going to run through some of the basic configuration that you'll want to do when you get your site online. Now, the first step that you're going to need to take in this lesson is make sure that you've got WAMP server online, because if WAMP server isn't up and online, your Drupal installation will not work on your local machine. Okay, so to get WAMP server started, you're going to want to double click on the WAMP server icon, and then down in the lower right hand corner you should see the in the system tray you should see the WAMP server indicator show up there. I want you to left click that and select Start All Services. And you also want to double check that it says server online, and if it's not online, this actual text right here will say put online, and you'd want to click to put that online. But as we can see right now, if we mouse over that, it says server online, so we should be good to go right now. And next thing we're going to want to do is go back to our browser and go to our Drupal installation. Okay, so if we recall the previous lesson, our instance of Drupal was located at localhost/Drupal2. My username was Getting Started, and my password, we're going to enter username and password, and that should get us logged into the site. Okay, so now that we're logged in, let's take care of some of that basic administration. Now, this boilerplate information that you see here, welcome to your new Drupal website, that will be there until we put our first content item on the front page. We don't need to worry about it right now because there's some other things that we want to take care of before we start adding content. So we can just click on Administer, and this takes us to the administration view. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we just want to look at how we would set up some of our basic site information. So if you scroll down under the site configuration heading, you can select site information. Okay, so this is the area where you would name the title of your site. We've already named it on Setup Getting Started with Drupal. An email address, and this is very important because any automated emails that are sent will come from this particular address, so you want to make sure that that's set properly. You can give your site a slogan, and many themes, if not all, will display this slogan. And I'm going to put in a slogan here, Learning Drupal the Easy Way. You can give a mission statement. Again, some or actually most themes will give you an option to place a mission statement somewhere on the site, and just for instruction, we'll put in a quick mission statement here to help people learn how to build websites with Drupal. And again, this is completely optional. You don't necessarily have to use this. A footer message, and a footer message is something that would show up down here at the bottom of the page where you see this little Drupal icon, and a little bit later we'll take a look at how that got there and how to remove it. But a basic footer message might just be copyright 2008, and I put my name in there. Next thing is anonymous user. What should anonymous users be called? And you'll see in things like comments, when an anonymous user is logged in and posted a comment, that it will say something, and this is the place where we set that. For now, we're just going to leave that as anonymous. And this is also finally an important setting, which is the default front page. One of the good things about Drupal is that you can select any page to be the front page of your site. In this case, we're going to leave the standard front page, which is called Node, but perhaps we'll change it later. For now, we want to save our configuration. Okay, so we've saved that, and we're really not going to see anything that's too much different right now until we start getting into the theme, which is actually going to be dealing with the theme is going to be something that we're going to look at in the next lesson of this series. For now, we're just going to be content with those settings. The next thing that I want to do is go back to administration. So the next thing we want to deal with are the registration options, and so what we're going to do is we're going to come down to user settings. It's very important that you understand this, because when your site goes live, it's possible that users, if they have the right link, will be able to register on your site. Initially, until you're set up to have users register, you probably want to set this to only site administrators can create new accounts. Now, your other options are visitors can create accounts and no administrator approval is required, meaning that even if they just get a confirmation email, somebody will be able to get an account and start using your site immediately, possibly start posting content. And you can also have visitors can create accounts, but approval is required, meaning that the administrator will be able to approve every submission to be a member of the site. Require email verification when a visitor creates an account. This is, I think, a very good anti-spam setting, and you can also as well add text to indicate user registration guidelines, just to let people know. For example, you could put in something like an administrator will approve all accounts. Thank you. And again, we won't see that until we get into user registration, later in this series. Email settings, if there are, if there is a user that's signing up and we have that set up, this is something that we can change basically what the email will say. If there's no approval required, this could be the welcome message, and there's a different welcome message if the registration is awaiting administrator approval. The boilerplate password recovery email, account activation email, and notices for when the accounts are blocked and deleted. For the moment, we're just going to leave these the way they are, and I think that and that's fine while we get to learn Drupal. Signatures. Do we want to allow standard signatures on the site? And for now, we're going to keep that disabled. And picture support is also going to be disabled. And what picture support does is that allows users, including the administrator, to have a picture, to upload a picture that will identify them in posts and or in comments. And again, we're not at the level where we're setting the community up for users right now, so we're just going to save those basic settings. Okay, now that the user registration settings are set up, I want to talk a little bit about the access controls or permissions for your Drupal site. The permissions are basically what allows different people to access different features on your Drupal site based on roles. You can set up, and you can see here the default roles are anonymous user, which is basically a person who has come to the site and not logged in, and authenticated user, an authenticated user who has come to the site and logged into the site. Now there's a role that's not shown here, and that is the initial administrator. The initial administrator of the site, or the first user, which is yourself, will be able to do anything and everything on the site. So this authenticated user role does not apply to the first user, but will apply to every user afterwards. So only one user will basically have, what we call the God role in Drupal, where they can do everything. So if you're going to have multiple people using the site, if you're going to have multiple administrators, you would want to set it up so that they would have the permissions for each particular module to do what they need to do. And if I scroll down here, you can see there's a lot of permissions, and every time we add a module, more permission modules, more permissions will be added for modules. So that's something I think that's very important to consider. Right now, we're just going to act as if you're one person, you're building this site, and you don't really need any other roles right now. So we're not going to change anything here right now. But know that when we do start creating content, we are going to have to come back here, and we're going to have to change some of the permissions, for example, for anonymous users, if we want them to be able to utilize the site. Okay, next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the core modules that we want to get set up so that we can continue moving forward developing this website. So we're going to go back to Administer, and under Site Building, we're going to select Modules. Now, as we get started, there are 4 modules that I think are really key in just getting us on the road to creating content with this Drupal site. And we're going to look for them here under Core. Now, one thing to know about Drupal is there are core modules, which are modules that are included within the standard Drupal install, and then there are contributed modules, which you see it mentions here, which we can find on Drupal.org. And we're going to add some contributed modules in a future lesson. For now, we're just going to deal with the core modules that are included, and we're going to get those enabled. And it's very simple to enable core modules. If we come to Site Building Modules, we merely look for the checkboxes next to the modules that we want, and in this case we want blog, which enables keeping easily and regularly updated user web pages. This basically allows us to add our blog to the site, and we're also going to add path, which allows us to rename the URLs, which is a really good feature of Drupal, is that we can rename the URLs, the links, anything we want. And we'll see later when we start creating content how we can do that to create the path to the pages that we want. We're going to enable our search functions, which basically enables site-wide keyword searching, and then we're also going to enable, and it's already enabled so we don't need to enable it, taxonomy, which basically allows us to categorize our content. And initially we're going to use this to categorize blog posts. So those are the 4 modules that we need to get enabled, and so we check the checkboxes and we click Save Configuration. Okay, so once the modules are enabled, we should see that the configuration options have been saved. 2 things that you should always do when you're enabling modules. First thing you want to do is check to see if there are new permissions, and there's a handy link here on the module page. So for example, for the blog module, we have new permissions. Who can create blog entries, who can delete a blog entry, who can delete own blog entries, edit any blog entry, edit own blog entries. So these are things to be considered. Right now, we don't we don't need to make any changes. So we look for blog module. We also enabled search module. So for example, if we wanted anonymous users to be able to search content on the site, or to use the search on the site, we'd click that box. And then we also We also did the path module, and again, we could update that to allow anonymous users, but every time you add something, you have to ask yourself a question: what type of permissions do I want to give the users of the site? And in most cases, you don't want anonymous users to be able to do a lot of these things when it comes to editing content. But when we do start adding content to the site, and we start allowing the ability to add comments, I'll show you what settings to check for anonymous users so that people can do the things that typically you want anonymous users to do on your site. For now, we've just enabled the ability for users to search content, and we can see also the settings for the taxonomy module are there as well. So we want to save those permissions. Now, another thing that we want to do whenever you set up, whenever you enable a new module, we're going to go back to modules. You want to go to the administration by module page, and you want to see what settings exist for each module. So for blog, there's really no settings, only permissions to configure. And we're going to also look for path. And for path, we actually have a screen that allows us to manage and add aliases for our URLs, which are basically URLs that we can set up instead of the standard URLs provided by the system. And we'll look at that when we start creating content. Taxonomy, which we're going to get, has settings, which we're going to get into a little deeper in a later lesson. And then also search. If we go to search settings, we can set up some basic settings here. We can choose to re-index the site. We don't have any content, so we don't really need to do that right now. Number of items to index per run of cron, and we're going to talk a little bit more about cron in a future lesson and how to get that, what that is, and how to get that set up. And there's some other content ranking settings here. Again, we're just going to leave this very basic right now and not do much with it. So here we've got our our very basic setup of the Drupal site, and I think some very important things to know. And we're going to stop the lesson right here. In the next lesson, what we're going to do is we're actually going to get a little bit into the theme. And what we're going to do is we're going to download a module from Drupal.org, a theme, from Drupal.org, and then we're going to upload that to our install, and we're going to activate it on our install. So we're going to get a new theme set up on Drupal.org and get a little bit into just how to set up any theme that you might find on Drupal.org, so that you can change the look of your website. And then in a lesson after that, we're gonna get into adding some more contributed modules. And I talked about contributed modules a little bit earlier in this lesson. And we're going to be well on our way at that point to adding content and getting into the real meat of creating our Drupal site. So for now, we're going to stop here. I want to thank you for watching this second lesson of the Getting Started with Drupal series. As always, you can find more tutorials and you can find more information about how to get the most out of Drupal on the website at learnbythedrop.com.